Hello everyone, welcome to this session. Our chapter is nanometals and their compounds. We're discussing about sulfur. In a previous session, we covered the occurrence of sulfur and how it can be prepared. So in this session, we'll move on to the properties of sulfur. We know that sulfur is a relatively reactive element, meaning that it readily reacts with the other elements just to form the various compounds. Compounds such as the oxides, chlorides, and the sulfides. Now, in this way, in chemical reactions, the sulfur it exhibits both the oxidizing and the reducing properties. Now, from there, you can get that these two are what we call the chemical properties of the sulfur. So we'll dive into them, starting with the first one, the oxidizing properties of sulfur. Heated sulfur, it reacts with the various metals such as the iron, copper, zinc, and tin just to give the metal sulfides. For example, when a mixture of iron fillings and the powdered sulfur in the proportion of 56 to 32, that is 7:4, the ratio of their relative atomic masses, when it's heated, the two they react in a highly exothermic reaction. Exothermic reaction meaning that it's the reaction that gives away heat. Now, in a way, uh, the heat given out it makes the mixture to continue growing just even after the heating has stopped. So a black and a dark gray iron 2 sulfide is formed. So that's the resulting of this kind of reaction. And here you can see the reaction how it occurs. Moving on. In this reaction, we can see that sulfur it acts as the oxidizing agent. It's an oxidizing agent, meaning that it oxidizes the iron metal just to form the iron 2 ion. As you can see, what it means for the iron 2 ions. Now, the sulfur is reduced to iron to these sulfur ions, as you can see these sulfur ions. So in that way, the sulfur is used as the oxidizing agent. Now, the iron 2 sulfide is just not attracted by a magnet since it is not magnetic. So that's the first property of this compound formed by the sulfur with the iron. The iron 2 sulfide is just not attracted by the magnet since it is not magnetic. The magnetic property of the iron is just lost when this compound is formed. The copper powder also it reacts with sulfur just in the same way, just to form the copper 2 sulfide, as you can see the reaction. So here you can see the examples of how the sulfur can react with various compounds just to form sulfur it can react with various elements just to form the various compounds. For example, we've seen how sulfur it can react with the iron to form iron 2 sulfide, and when also how it can react with the copper powder just to form the copper 2 sulfide. Moving on, the second property, reducing properties of sulfur. So we've seen the oxidizing properties of sulfur. So let's see how sulfur can be seen as the reducing property, as the reducing element within a chemical reaction. Dilute acids, they just do not act upon sulfur, so that you have to note it. However, the sulfur it is oxidized by hot concentrated sulfuric acid with the formation of sulfur dioxide. As you can see the reaction how it occurs. Now, after that, in this reaction, the sulfur is oxidized by the acid just to sulfur dioxide, and the acid it is reduced just to the same substance. The filter paper soaked in potassium dichromate, it changes just from orange to green. If you want to test that one, the sulfur dioxide it reduces the chromium from the chromium 6 to chromium 3. As you can see how the ions they are reduced from the chromium 6 to chromium 2 to chromium 3. So that's how you can see there how sulfur it has participated as the reducing agent. Now, when the sulfite reacts with the hot concentrated nitric acid, the brown fumes of the nitrogen dioxide are the ones that are formed. As you can see the reaction how it occurs. Now, the sulfur is oxidized by these hot concentrates of this nitric acid just to sulfuric acid, while nitric acid is also reduced just to this nitrogen dioxide and water. So that's all I have for this session. Thank you for listening. We'll briefly seen the main properties. These chemical properties of sulfur are the ones that are portrayed when sulfur it goes in the chemical reaction with the other elements just to form various compounds. So I hope that's clear, and thank you.